want to thank Ingrid Sanders-Jones and the Coca-Cola family for assembling that. But I personally want to thank Muhtar Kent, my friend, for all of the time and the energy that he has given to the Coca-Cola Company and to the city of Atlanta before I was mayor, but certainly since I've been mayor. I want to thank Mr. Keogh for being here this morning as well. Our growing friendship means a great deal to me. I had a lot of time to spend with the Coca-Cola family this year as we celebrated the company's 125th anniversary. I think that deserves a round of applause. I said when we recently moved the Coca-Cola formula from the vault in SunTrust Bank over to the world of Coca-Cola, that Coca-Cola had been a gift to the city of Atlanta, that it literally runs through Atlanta's history. But I believe that the Coca-Cola Company and Coca-Cola is Atlanta's gift to the world. And the city has greatly benefited from their generosity. Thus far, the Coca-Cola Company has invested $1 million in programs related to my administration, but not the usual programs that are just for credit or praise of some kind, but programs that focus on children and young people and on improving their lives. So Muhtar, thank you for that, and thank you for everything you've done for me. I want to acknowledge Caesar Mitchell, the council president of the Atlanta City Council. Please stand and let everybody working with the council president, everything that we talked about in those videos, we accomplished together. I am also very delighted that so many outstanding members of the Atlanta City Council. I'm truly blessed to have a council that works as hard, as diligent, and as independently as this council works. Would the members of the Atlanta City Council please stand so the people of Atlanta can see and thank you for what you do. Just want to be real clear on how special the partners I have they are. They provide robust oversight for the city of Atlanta. They push back, they debate, and they are an essential part of the success that the city of Atlanta is having. You know, this is a special time for me. This is my third state of the city. And I had the pleasure of growing up in this city, and then on the day that I was sworn in on January 4th, 2010, having my mom and my dad hold the Bible when I was inaugurated as the 59th mayor. I'm also blessed that my mother and my father are still with me. Mom and Dad, would you please stand up? And I also want to thank my stepmother, Dr. Roxburgh Phillips. We call her Zell, so I got a little tongue-tied. For being here today, as well as my brother Carlton and my brother Tracy. I know my brother Chuck is somewhere, might be asleep. But this is where we are. You know, on Monday, we had another great day for our city when we celebrated the 45th anniversary of the birth of Dr. Martin Luther King. And whenever we have, I think that deserves a round of applause. I really think that's a special moment for us because it gives us an opportunity to pause and really to look at where we are. And it really does remind us that Atlanta, through all of its challenges and through all of the difficulties, really is best when we dream. And what I believe is certainly since 2007, we have been going through extraordinarily difficult times. All of us in the public sector and in the private sector, we have been managing through times that are as tough as any that anybody has seen in the United States of America, certainly since 2007. And I believe that when you go through the kind of extraordinarily tough times that we go through, you begin to focus on your own situation and your own circumstances, really because that is what is required. because your first obligation is to provide for yourself and your family. I do believe that that can put you in a posture of beginning to simply survive. And what I think is just surviving leads to just surviving. So it's fundamentally unhealthy. You see, I believe that modern leaders, the leaders that history will remember, will always be performing on at least 2 tracks, probably 3 tracks or 4 tracks. And that is, 1, they will be focusing on being an outstanding steward of the institution that they're in, but also worrying about it in 10 years, and 20 years, and 30 years, and 40 years. Those are the leaders of the future that will be remembered. But we must never stop dreaming, and we must never stop being aspirational. When I ran for mayor, I read a book over and over and over again. It was a book by a gentleman named Michael Barber, and it's called Instruction to Deliver. And Instruction to Deliver really focuses on Tony Blair's first 8 years as the Prime Minister in Britain, when they were really implementing a series of outstanding reforms. And the world was taking note. The point of the book is actually very simple. The thrust of it says that if you are a leader of a public entity or a complex organization, and you really want to do something that is special, you have to take care of the fundamentals. Because if the fundamentals are not taken care of, then you will never be able to galvanize the public will so that they will come with you in the big things that you ask them to do. So if you really want people to believe and invest $2 million in the Centers of Hope for children and young people, you better make sure that when folks are walking to their car in a parking lot, that they're safe. You better make sure that their trash is getting picked up on time. You better make sure that you care about those potholes, because if the fundamentals are not there, they won't come along with you on the bigger journeys. I think we've moved ahead. If you've looked at the 2 years that we have been together, we, meaning my administration and this Atlanta City Council, we have partnered to reform this city and take on the tough challenges. And I think we're making a difference. 2 years I stood before you and I promised that we will make our city of Atlanta safer. Together, this city council and my administration, under the leadership of George Turner, have hired more than 400 police officers today. We have cut crime across every single zone in the city of Atlanta by between 10% and 16%, depending on the zone. And we've stood up the largest police force in the history of the city of Atlanta, and stood up a video integration center to start expanding our force through the use of technology. Under Chief Cochran, the Atlanta Fire and Rescue Department is much stronger. There, in the last 24 months, we've hired 75 more officers, funded by a $9.8 million grant from the Obama administration. So we're moving there. I stood here in my first state of the city, and all of us were rightfully concerned that our city needed to get up off of its knees. And my predecessor, Mayor Franklin, had made some extraordinarily tough decisions in 2006, 2007, 2008, as we entered the worst part of this recession, and we've stayed in it. But by partnering with the Atlanta City Council, by using the talent that they have, by adding people from the private sector like Peter Amon, who gave up 2 years of his career with Bain & Company to come and work for the city of Atlanta, we have grown the audited cash reserves from $7.4 million to $94 million in cash in the bank right here, right now. What does that mean? It means that when Sam Williams is recruiting a corporation to the city of Atlanta, or when the governor of the state is recruiting a business to the city of Atlanta, and they pick up the phone and they call the city of Atlanta to try to close that relocation opportunity and ask you for economic incentives to partner with them as an equal partner, that you can say yes with the approval and support of council. What that means is that we're becoming strong again. And I believe that next year when we have our State of the City, the cash reserves for the city of Atlanta will exceed $108 million, which represents 20% of the general fund, which means the city of Atlanta will start being able to invest in the $1 billion infrastructure backlog that we've all been talking about but haven't been able to do anything about. Your help matters. We've balanced 2 budgets working with this council president. We finished the fiscal year 2010 with $10 million in excess cash. We finished the fiscal year 2011 with $2 million in excess cash, and that was including the money to get the city moving after that snowstorm kicked my behind. For a long time in the city of Atlanta, we've talked about permitting. The construction and development industry is to our city what the automobile industry is to Michigan, what the financial services industry is to New York, what motion pictures are to Hollywood, although we're gaining on Hollywood in the motion picture business. We reformed that process. We passed 4 pieces of sweeping legislation that put the permitting process for the city of Atlanta into an independent general fund. We then got 15 executives from the private sector who went out and hired Ron Rosenthal to run the department, and they selected him 15-0 unanimously, and we're reforming our permitting process so when the economy comes back, guess who's going to be ready? The city of Atlanta is going to be ready. You all, when we stood here last year, I had given 100 speeches running around talking about the pension this and the pension that, and I know that folks were sick of me talking about the pensions. But you know what? 2 years ago, everyone knew that the city of Atlanta owed $1.5 billion to its current and retired employees. Everybody knew that the liability was growing and growing and growing. But nobody wanted to take it on. I am so proud about this city because this council president, this city council, and this business community got in a room and decided that we were going to change that future, that we were going to improve it. And when you look around the United States of America, when you look at other states and other cities where they have reformed their pension processes, there's somebody yelling at somebody, or there's somebody trying to talk about how bad labor is, or somebody who's trying to bash the business community and talk about how bad the business community is. You're not going to hear that from me as mayor because I don't believe that you can love jobs and hate business at the exact same time. It does not work. But you can invite your workforce in. You can sit around a table and treat people with respect and dignity. And you can change when you get new information that should cause you to change. And you can't be so macho with it when somebody else has an idea that's better than yours, that you don't absorb their better idea if it moves the city of Atlanta forward. That's when we're at our best. So where are we today? We passed our pension reform 15-0 after all of the conversation with the support of our unions, and we're meeting our obligation. We're paying down a $1.5 billion liability that if left unchecked, if we had had the exact same market performance of the last 10 years, would have grown to $4 billion. The city of Atlanta has no remedy for a $4 billion problem. So I'm here to say thank you. I'm here to say thank you to the business community that stepped up. They didn't just send surrogates to the meetings on pension reforms. They sent CEOs. We raised $1.7 million privately so that we could have the best solutions available. It was a terrific example that represents a model for how cities in America should perform. And I'll put my counsel and the business community in the city of Atlanta against anybody's in the world. We're making real progress. 2 years ago, I said that it was no longer enough that Atlanta was a city that was too busy to hate. But we also must be a city that is not too busy to love. I want to thank you today for showing your heart. Today, as we stand here, we have received $2 million in private philanthropy for the Centers of Hope. We've opened every single recreation center in the city of Atlanta. We've opened every single pool in the city of Atlanta. We've launched 2 pilot programs, one at Adamsville, which is run by the YMCA, and another that's run by the Boys and Girls Club in Thomasville. And I will tell you, I'll tell you a secret. The feedback that I get from the Centers of Hope is the most rewarding that I get in this job. Everybody who knows me knows that my love of chicken is well known. And one day, after having a particularly challenging day, I was in the Popeyes on Ponce de Leon trying to have a little quiet time before 2 more speeches in the evening. I saw a mom come in with her 2 sons, and I saw her stare at me, and I saw her sons look over at me. And I remember that day that I was not feeling very mayoral, Pastor, so I tried to look at my chicken extra hard. And the mom grabbed her 2 boys. She walked out of the door. And I thought I'd gotten away, meaning I thought I didn't have to speak. And she came back, and she came in with her 2 little boys, and she looked at me and she said, "I know that you're eating, but since you've opened the Thomasville Recreation Center, I get to spend more time with my boys, and I wanted to say thank you." We're now helping 900 kids a week in the city of Atlanta that didn't have that before. We're a special city. You know, a year ago before this speech, I was in my office. Ed Baker gave me a call, and he said he wanted to come by and see me. He had an idea. Came by with no fanfare. Quietly, we sat in my library and talked. He said he had this wonderful idea. He said that he had an idea that if we encouraged businesses to hire just 1 employee, that we could really make a difference in this town, and that people should stop crying about the unemployment situation and really try to do something about it if you were able to help. Didn't ask for any credit. He said that any business that goes out and hires 1 employee full-time, verified by SHRM, we would put in the Atlanta Business Chronicle and hold them up as a company that was doing its best to try to get our economy moving again. 1 year later, I stand here today. Ed Baker's at my table. 1 year later, more than 1,400 companies took up that challenge, and more than 15,000 employees have been hired, people that did not have a job before. Ed, I want you to stand up, please. But we're not going to stop. We're also going to innovate. So today, we're going to announce Tweet My Jobs, because we're innovators in the city of Atlanta. And today, we're going to expand the Hiring One initiative using a technology that delivers relevant job listings instantly to job seekers via Facebook, Twitter, email, or mobile devices, and takes advantage of these connections for job referrals and introductions. And right now, if you go to atlanta.tweetmyjobs.com, you will find about 85,000 real jobs within the city of Atlanta zip code and more than 100,000 jobs within a 50-mile radius. And Reese, if you'll bring this device up, I want to show it to folks. Don't be nervous, I'm used to this.
Okay.
Using this new technology, you can literally take out your mobile phone, you can scan the room, and it will literally tell you the jobs that are near where you're standing. So right now, there are 2 openings at Starbucks Coffee Company, 3660 Cascade Road. There are 2 openings at a McDonald's. It's a new technology that is innovative, and it shows that Atlanta's on the cutting edge. We're the first city in the United States of America to implement it. That is the Atlanta way. Just want to say, take that, Mayor Bloomberg and Mayor Emanuel. I'm sorry I couldn't resist. In our spare time, we recruited EUE Screen Gems to the city of Atlanta. We sold City Hall East to Jamestown Properties, where we'll have foreign direct investment. Just to think about City Hall East, it was more than a 1 million square foot building that is now being completely renovated. It's going to be state-of-the-art. It's now called Ponce City Market. We had about $600,000 in carry costs related to City Hall East, and now we will have more than $500 million in investment over the next 10 years. Working in partnership with the FAA, we reclaimed the old Ford Hateville site where Ford used to be built, and the city of Atlanta now owns that property, and the headquarters for Porsche North America is going to be built on that old site. We've attracted And under Lewis Miller's leadership, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport has remained the busiest passenger airport on the planet Earth, was rated the most efficient airport in America, and won the Bond Buyer Deal of the Year award for our $1.5 billion debt offering. And make no mistake, we will open the international terminal on time and on budget in the spring in 2012. But each of you in your own way has also reminded me that cities have souls. And now that we have stabilized this ship, we have much work to be done to deliver the soul of this city. So I'm pleased to announce that Bloomberg Philanthropies has funded the city of Atlanta with a $3.1 million innovation delivery grant that will fund Kristen Canavan and Susan Lampley's work in the area of homeless and innovation. So maybe I better take back that comment to Mayor Bloomberg. So y'all can give a round of applause for that. Consistent with that work, the city of Atlanta has engaged in the Better Buildings Challenge. Under A.J. Robinson's leadership and Central Atlanta Progress's partnership, we have had 21 million square feet added to the Better Buildings Challenge. I want to tell you why this is important. The Better Buildings Challenge advocates that we reduce energy use by 20%. This is important because as vertical construction slows down, we don't want construction workers' skills to atrophy. So by retrofitting the 21 million square foot of the buildings that we have in the city of Atlanta, we will make them more energy efficient. We will make the city of Atlanta stronger. We will improve our environment, and we will put hardworking women and men in the construction trades back to work. I'm also pleased that Denise Quarles will be joining me to lead the sustainability effort for the city of Atlanta. So we will be moving robustly in that direction as well. Now, what are we going to do in the future? I believe that in the future, for us to assure that Atlanta remains the center of economic activity in the South, that we have to pass the T-SPLOST that will be voted on next year. Now, Governor Deal has done an outstanding job in negotiating the water difficulties between Alabama and Florida. We got a very good decision from Judge Magnuson with regard to the use of drawing water from Lake Lanier. Today, I will get on a plane with Governor Deal and go and work with the Secretary LaHood in Washington to deepen the Port of Savannah so that we are ready in 2014 when the Panamax ships come through the Panama Canal. The Port of Savannah is the fastest growing port on the eastern seaboard, and its health and success matters to the city of Atlanta. But the T-SPLOST, which will be voted on next year, really is the most significant thing we can do to ensure that our future continues to rise. Just think about it. A few months ago, you had 21 elected officials from rural and urban metro Atlanta, Democrat and Republican, stand together and cast a unanimous vote for a $6.14 billion transportation infrastructure program. Now, think of that. We worked through a $20 billion transportation list and whittled it down to $6.14 billion, and did so in a way that showed respect for one another, but that will also address the two biggest challenges that we have facing our region. One is the challenge that we have with regard to well-paying jobs and employment, and two is with regard to how we address traffic challenges in the city of Atlanta and in the metro region. If we dream again, if we look up, if we believe in who we are, we will pass the T-SPLOST and make sure that we meet the challenge that faces us today. And I'm so pleased that so many of the people who have been supporting the T-SPLOST are here. If the T-SPLOST passes, the Atlanta Beltline, which has received more than $38 million in philanthropic support, will receive $602 million in additional funding. MARTA will receive more than $600 million in capital improvement funding if the T-SPLOST passes. That's more than $1.2 billion for the city of Atlanta as a part of that initiative. For some comparison, just think. When we built out the Olympic Games, the hard investment was $3.6 billion hard that powered about $60 billion in economic development through the year 2007. Just imagine what we will do if the combined amount of investment around the T-SPLOST, including the federal match, is more than $9 billion. We will begin to dream again. We will begin to show that the metro region is the most dynamic in the Southeast. So we've got a lot to do. Now is also time for us to expand our international business alliances and build upon the alliances we've made with countries like France and Saudi Arabia, Great Britain, and Qatar, as well as create new and stronger ones. If we're going to continue to create jobs in Atlanta, we're going to have to go after them wherever they are available. And I will go wherever I need to go to generate well-paying jobs in the city of Atlanta. I don't think you can create the jobs of the future by sitting in my office at City Hall. And that's why you should consider this as a personal invitation to join me on a trade mission to China in March. I honestly don't think you can become a true global city without creating a strong economic relationship with China, and we're going to do that. Most importantly, now is the time to invest in Atlanta itself. Jobs and competitiveness are among the two most important things the people of Atlanta need right here, right now. Folks are worried not only about whether they will keep the jobs that they have, or that they will be able to make sure that their children have opportunities, or their grandchildren have opportunities in this city. We have to make sure that the answer to that question is yes, and we're going to do it beginning today. The city of Atlanta is rising again and adapting to the economic environment of our times and finding new and modern ways to approach new and lasting business development. And that's why I'm pleased to announce today that the old name for the Atlanta Development Authority is out of date and won't be used anymore. As of today, the new name for the ADA is now officially Invest Atlanta. Invest Atlanta, y'all can clap for that. Invest Atlanta will continue to honor the historic mission of the authority, but it will add components to ensure that Atlanta can compete in a 21st century globalized environment. Brian McGowan, who joined us last May, from the U.S. Department of Commerce, will continue as president and will lead a dynamic new team to revitalize Atlanta's economic development strategy and to partner with the Metropolitan Atlanta Chamber and the state of Georgia to sell the city of Atlanta not only across the United States, but in cities across the world. We have set goals to make Atlanta the #1 place to start a business in the U.S. To that end, Invest Atlanta will focus on increasing the number of small businesses, business startups, and numbers of patents and percentages of Atlantans who own their own businesses. That's how we mix it up a bit. The bottom line is this, folks. I want to be very clear about one thing this morning. We are going to choose to be first again. There is tremendous power in deciding in the city of Atlanta. This city has been built by business people and political leaders who believed that we were always more than we were ever given credit for being. They chose to be first. This town is an intentional town, and we've got to be that again. And I need this council and this business community to lift up our heads and be proud of it. Bet on the city of Atlanta. Every single time that we had leaders that made the hard decisions at moments of challenge, we won. When Mayor Hartsfield decided to acquire the land for Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, we won. When Mayor Ivan Allen decided that he was going to testify in favor of the Civil Rights Act in 1963, it changed the course of Atlanta and probably ended his political career. When Mayor Sam Massell decided that he was going to champion the creation of MARTA in the city of Atlanta, it passed by 1,000 votes. We won. When Atlanta decided that it was going to host the Democratic National Convention and people snickered, our community joined together and we won. Billy Payne and Ambassador Andrew Young got on planes and flew around the world to convince people that we should host the Olympic Games, not on the first ballot or the second or the third. We won. When Mayor Maynard Jackson convinced the federal government to move a highway so that he could build Hartsfield-Jackson Airport on time and on budget, this city won. That's who we are. When Shirley Franklin was told by the federal government that she had to stop granting water permits or figure out how to fund $4 billion in water and sewer infrastructure, had no idea how to do it, the council, the government, and the civic and business community came together and we won. For some reason, we've forgotten that. All of these victories, all of these things, they came from you. And we are the stewards for this now. We all live in cities that we did not build and run organizations that very few of us built. The measure of us is what is the state of the institution when we're done with it. When you have given your time, your energy, and your talents and your passion to that institution, will you go home and look in the mirror and say it was worth it, that we won? So on the T-Splost, on water, on education, on caring for our people, we're going to be first. And make no mistake, we are going to win, and the people are going to be the beneficiaries of it. Thank you. God bless you.